Browns beat reporter Daryl Ryder tweets this out. So we've seen an entire season of Deshaun Watson. 9-8, 60% completions, 19 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. 12 interceptions is obviously concerning. The sacks are more concerning. Net yards gained per attempt. The thing that I would say, fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. That's how you measure an elite quarterback. And I don't think you can say he's elite. And I was a guy that defended him. What I'm seeing now with an offense that's trying to tailor it around him, I can't argue with anybody that wants to say that.
Well, I mean, and I'm not trying to like hammer the point home here. I mean, you mentioned you can't say he's elite. I mean, I think we're having people argue whether he's just competent enough to even play. Like, I think that's, the point at which we're at where he is so inconsistent that he's not able to continually do what he needs to do to hold up his end of the bargain to just be a guy you can win with. I mean, obviously, the trade was made and the deal was provided based on the thought that he was a guy you would win because of, right? Like that's the reason you give quarterbacks big money. Typically, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, you pay quarterbacks north of $200 million because they are guys who you can win because of. They make the plays, they drag everybody along, and he is not that. And it's to the point now, if you look at the CPOE data and you look at the EPA, which is expected points added on a drive by drive basis, throw by throw, whatever metric you want to go to, and it's telling you he shouldn't even be playing. He is one of the worst active quarterbacks playing right now. And while I think some of that is a bit more team driven, if you look at the grade based data, he's kind of hovers in the 20s. He's just he's nowhere near what they anticipated getting when they made the trade that they made, or they wouldn't have made it, obviously, for several different reasons now. So, um, gone are the conversations of can the Browns get 2020 Deshaun Watson back? And I think the conversation that is happening now and what they're trying to solve and what we are trying to kind of prepare people for is like they're trying to figure out if they can just win with him. Can he be a piece of the puzzle that you can fit in the next few years so that you don't have to waste a significant amount of money? Um, can he fit into the machine and be a part of keeping it moving? Because if he is the part of the machine that doesn't keep the locomotive moving, he's the reason it keeps stopping. He's not doing his job. Then it gets to the point you have to have the really hard conversations about benching him or replacing him. And then ultimately, maybe at the end of the season with a post June 1st designation, cutting him before next season. That's it. I think again, it's getting beyond where we were starting the season at, which is like, hey, can Deshaun Watson be a top 8 quarterback again? I think that's obvious he can. It's not there. It's not, and maybe it comes back, but it's hard to see a guy crossing the 30-year-old threshold who survives on making plays out of structure. It takes a lot of sacks and has throughout his career survived on overcoming those sacks and those negatives by making heroic plays downfield, usually outside of structure. And that's not a part of who he is anymore. And honestly, seeking out those opportunities is actively hurting this offense, right? Like, I think a way to frame it is when young quarterbacks come in, Dave, they are tasked with finding the answer, right? You're every time a quarterback drops back, you hunt out the answer, and if Jaden Daniels is a perfect example of that. Every drop back, he might not have the answer, and what I mean by that is the right throw to the right person based on the coverage or based on what unfolds. That's the answer. But can you create a different answer? Can you use your legs to run out, scramble, throw downfield, make a play? Can you do something to extend the play, make an answer possible, right? You have an answer provided usually, but if there's not one, can you be the provider of a different answer? That's not happening the way it did for young Deshaun Watson. Older Deshaun Watson, slower, beat up, shoulder issues, live and arm as it used to be, and a guy who can't live from the pocket, consistently finding the throws and people he needs to find. And then also you add in an offensive line that's beat up and not doing its part consistently, you can very clearly understand why this is one of the worst. I mean, it is the worst offense in the NFL right now.